Hello students, welcome to the video about the new chapter, first chapter of 8th standard, that is rational number. Before going to deep into the topic or lesson, we just go through and remember what are things that we learned in 7th standard about rational numbers. The textbook I am showing on the screen is actually from 7th standard. You know that the chapter number is 9. So we are going through that. First of all, that it is we know that you have learned different type of number system. Do you remember what are these? The counting numbers, which we already learned. We used to count from the earlier childhood. The numbers is called as counting numbers, or it is called as natural numbers. So that is I have marked on the screen. And after that we learned about with the counting numbers, also known as the natural numbers, isn't it? And then when we add a 0 with that, we call that number system as a whole numbers. When then in that list, when we add negative numbers, and when we add negative numbers with that list, we say it is integers, isn't it? It is called as integers numbers. So that is shown on that. So when we have negative numbers, it is also known as the integers. The numbers is called as integers. So let us move on to the next number system that you know or learned about it. So when we have numbers like that, it is known as fractions. Fractions, it is actually in the form of numerator by denominator. Here the numerator can have either a 0 or a positive integer. The numerator can have a positive integer numbers. So we have done that basic addition, multiplication, subtraction, division using the fractions in our lower classes. These are things we learnt. Rational numbers we have learnt. Sometimes we need to represent negative numbers in the situations in our real life. For example, if you want to represent you are borrowed some money, or you lost some money. So for example, here in this example given, if you lost the 100 rupees, so you have to give someone that amount. You took it from others, or you borrowed it. Now you don't have that money, you should give back. That time, that is it is considered a negative number, so we can represent that as a negative 100. That is there are similar cases in our life to represent the numbers in a negative numbers. The same, if you so the rational numbers. So we are talking about the rational numbers. So what are rational numbers here? So actually, what is the meaning of rational? It starts from the word. It comes from the word ratio. So it comes from the word ratio. Ratio means, what is mean by ratio? Ratio is a comparison of two quantities, isn't it? We can compare it two numbers. How greater one number compared to another. It is the comparison. So rational number is defined, or that can defined as a number that can be expressed in a form of a p by q. What is a p by q? There p and q are integers. So P and Q are integer numbers. So we can have a negative numbers there instead of P, positive numbers or 0. But in the case of Q, it can have a negative numbers and a positive numbers, but Q cannot be 0. It says that Q cannot be 0. So this is a general definition. These are things you already learned in your 7th standard. Then what are the things you have learned about it? Then you learned in that chapter about equivalent fractions. How we get an equivalent fraction? When we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, we get the equivalent fraction. Here in this example, we have multiplied minus 2 by 3 by 2. Numerator also multiplied by 2, denominator is also multiplied by 2. So we get the answer as minus 4 by 6. So like that we can get equivalent fractions. Then we are moving on to the next chapter. What is we have learned? It is about a positive and a negative rational number. Positive rational numbers in the sense that the numerator and the denominator will have a positive integers. Negative rational number, it will consist either a numerator or denominator with a negative number, but in particular here the numerator of a number, if it is a negative, whereas the denominator is a positive numbers, such numbers we call it as a negative numbers. Only in this case we say negative. So in particularly negative rational number in the sense the numerator should be negative integer and the denominator should be positive. So what we have learned next, let us see that in this lesson. Rational numbers, representing rational numbers on a number line. The same thing we will learn in 8th standard also. That is why I am recalling you what are the things you have studied in 7th standard, because you had a lot of gap or free time, a lot of holidays. You might have forgot everything what you have learned. That is why I would like to recall what are things you have learned in 7th standard. So next in this chapter, it is given that rational numbers in standard form. What is a rational numbers in standard form means we have to write the numbers. So here we can see the definition what is given, that the rational number is said to be in standard form if it is a denominator is a positive integers. Remember that the denominator should be positive integers. Numerator and the numerator and the denominator have no common factor other than 1. What does mean by that? It should be in simplified form. It should be in a simplified form. If there is any negative, that negative should be given to numerator. Here in example, the number is given minus 45 by 30. So we can reduce it by dividing by 15. 45 and 30 goes by 15 table. You can see in the second method, or we can done in this one. You can see here, if you divide by 15, so we get it is reduced to 3 minus 3 by 2, minus 3 upon 2. It is, we have to read as minus 3 upon 2, not by. By is used for multiplication actually. So we can read now onwards like this, minus 3 upon 2. So it is a simplified reduced form. Why it is called as like that? Because we cannot divide minus 3 and 2 by any other number. That we cannot do it. Only one can divide it. So now it is in the there is no other common factor other than 1. So now it is in a standard form. So we studied standard form. Then we are moving on to the next heading, that comparing how big, which is greater, which is lesser, that comparing rational numbers. That is also you have learned in that in 7th standard. And we are moving on to next topic based on it. So what you are seeing on the screen is a comparison things. You have textbook of 7th standard. It is good to have a revision to you can please take your textbook and have a revision. So it helps you to learn the chapter rational number in 8th standard. So you don't feel that it is a new chapter. So it is not at all a new chapter, this rational number. You already have an introduction in 7th standard. So next, representing rational numbers, or rational numbers between two rational numbers, writing or finding two rational numbers, or finding one or more rational numbers between two rational numbers. So this also you did the same thing. We have second half of the 8th standard text, or text say in the syllabus in rational numbers. We are going to do the same thing, finding rational numbers between rational numbers. We also learn in 8th standard. So it is not at all a new one. You can go through this textbook. You are having the textbook with you, and you can find how to do it. And if you have any doubt in this basics, don't hesitate to call me and I'll clear it for you. So this is just a basic class. Don't think that I am rushing up, I am going very fast. Actually it is a very basic things. So when we begin the chapter in 8th standard in proper manner or a detailed way, we do in problems on the board, on the whiteboard. Now it is just a revision. I'm just reminding you what are the things you have learned in 7th standard. I'm just showing the 7th standard text in front of you so that you can remember what are things you have learned. These are the exercise. What I'm showing on the screen is the exercise based on comparing two or more, comparing rational numbers and writing rational numbers between rational numbers. Next is a very important thing is operations on rational numbers, the addition and subtraction, division, multiplication and division. Operations on rational numbers. Whereas if you have skipped this one in 7th standard, please go through and please revise these chapters and take your textbook and revise. It is very, very important to know how to add or two rational numbers, how to subtract two rational numbers, and how to divide rational numbers, how to multiply. Remember that you should take LCM or a cross multiplication method is only for addition and subtraction. Don't do so. Here only we do that multiplication, cross multiplication. When we add two rational numbers, we do cross multiplication. Do you remember that method? I think yes, I think you remember that cross. We use this method for addition and subtraction, not for multiplication, division. Multiplication, we directly multiply the numerator with the numerator and the denominator with the denominator. And the division, we take reciprocal and we do it. So once again, it is just a reminder what are things you did. So then you learned about the subtraction of it in this lesson, and the multiplication of rational numbers, and finally the division of it. Division, how do? We take the reciprocal of it, right? If you're going to multiply two numbers, we take the reciprocal second number and we multiply that. Let us see the one example from the textbook now. So it is given for our multiplication, some questions. So this exam, once again, if you want, you can practice this exercise 9.2. It is good to have a revision. So let us see one question for just consideration. Just I'll mark here. Just see this question. How do we do it? So we do first, we write this like minus 2 by 13, and we write the multiplication sign. We write the reciprocal of by 1 upon 7. So we can write 7 upon 1, like that. We can change it. Then you can multiply. So how do we multiply this one? 2 7s are 14. So we get minus 14 upon 1 into 13 is 13. Minus 14 upon 13. So that is the answer we get. It is just a revision. So boys and girls, don't think that I am rushing. Vinod sir is going very fast. His class is not understanding. Not like that. It is just a 7th standard max, and just I am showing you what are things are you have learnt. When we go to the chapter in 8th standard rational numbers, we go through in detail. So hope you recalled things. So thank you for listening me and watching the class. In the next video, we do some problems. We start the next chapter, the same rational numbers chapter. We are going to study what are things in 8th standard in the next video. So thank you for listening, students. Thank you for watching this video.